So far at YCA, I think I've really learned how to ask the right questions, to understand how the world works and how specifically the globalized world works, but also, once again, how to put myself in other people's shoes to try and understand their realities to better understand mine.
So far at YCA, I've learned a lot about Chinese literature. I've had the chance to read a lot of the classical Chinese novels like Journey to the West, Dream of the Red Chamber, and Raise the Red Lantern.
So my concentration is economics and management in YCA in the course of China's financial system. We actually have this course with Stanford Business School MBA, so we comprehensively learn about China's financial system, including regulators and the markets. So in the lectures, there's so many opinions I have never heard before, so that's really interesting.
So one of the most important things that I've learned at YCA so far is that China is not this monolith, and there are so many things happening under the surface. And so one example of that is in studying the digital RMB and ECNY, something that's been very fascinating at YCA is hearing about these different perspectives on sort of the broader implications from all across the world and being able to engage with students on these topics. And I think that's been a very rewarding and fascinating journey at YCA so far.
I've come from a maths and statistics background, so starting at Yenching this year has not just been an immersion in China studies, but also in the humanities. So to say that I've learned a little is a bit of an understatement, but I think in coming from a different background, having fantastic lecturers as a sort of academic role model at Yenching has been wonderful.
My most memorable experience so far at YCA has been our Mid-Autumn Festival Gala. I got the chance to spend the holiday with so many of our Chinese students. It was wonderful.
So far, my most memorable experience at YCA, despite the distance, would have been the YCA Olympics. That was a really, really fun moment for everyone. I think we were able to laugh and enjoy time together no matter the distance. So that was my most memorable experience.
My most memorable experience at YCA so far, I think, is in connection with our flagship conference, the Yenching Global Symposium. I was a delegate last year, and so in reflection, this year I'm part of the organizing team of that conference, and so it's been, again, extremely rewarding working with people all around the world to create a fascinating and interesting conference. I think being part of that conference last year sort of made that all the more memorable for me.
I think it is my birthday. My classmate Jade PS me into a photo. I'm climbing the snow mountain. So it is a dream of mine, and actually she's trying to encourage me to achieve that, and I really appreciate that.
I made my first friend at YCA through drinking tea. One of our Chinese classmates invited me to enjoy some tea with her, and she brought in some teas from England and I brought in some teas from Hangzhou.
I met my first friends in YCA by sports. For example, Kevin and I play a lot of badminton and tennis together, and we share a lot of interests.
So my first friend at YCA is probably Dao, a 7th cohorter from Vietnam. And essentially, at the time when we were admitted into the program, Dao had just started a student think tank called the Student Think Tank for Europe-Asia Relations. And at the time, he was looking for someone to help him expand that organization. And so since then, we've been working together closely to kind of build the organization from the ground up to now a team of over 60 people from across the world. And it's been super interesting doing that and getting to know him through that.
I'm pretty sure it was through a class project, a presentation we had to do together. We didn't know each other from before, but we really hit it off after meeting up for the presentation. So yeah, Professor Chen's class helped me make my first friend at YCA.
My first friend in YCA is Claudia Jiang. The both of us volunteered to help out with class elections in the beginning of the year, and we really hit it off ever since. We've also been talking to our mutual friend at that point in time called Carson, and since then we've been added into one big group and we talk daily. Also special shout out to Sarah and Tan Qi, who are my closest friends on the mainland. They've really made remote learning much more enjoyable.
One Chinese word that would summarize my wish and wishes for 2022 is this one. All about resilience and being adaptable and just doing anything we can so that we can get to Beijing sooner rather than later.
The Chinese word I use for my wish for 2022 is 喜讯. It means good news. I hope in the new year we have a lot of good news.
So my wish for 2022 will be 顺其自然. And so if you heard one very famous song in Beatles, it's called Let It Be. And this word means let everything go naturally. So I wish I could have this kind of attitude towards my life in 2022.
So one Chinese word or phrase I'd use for my wish for 2022 is 全心全意, which essentially means investing in things wholeheartedly. And for me, I think that's important because I'd also like to get the most out of it. And so that's my one wish for 2022.
A phrase to summarize my wish for 2022 is 追逐梦想. I'll chase after my dream over the next year.